This week on Stay in the Truck, we'll preview the Big Ten. Grab you a cold beverage and let's go. Welcome to Stay in the Truck, the ultimate podcast for sports enthusiasts and avid gamblers alike. Each week we'll provide you with invaluable insights, analysis, and tips to elevate your game. We can be found on all major podcast and social media outlets. See the show notes for details. Stick around to the end to hear this week's most boneheaded sports moments with our Stay in the Truck Awards. So let's jump right into this week's show. Let's get started here. We're going to talk about the Big Ten. So the Big Ten last year finished with 3 teams finishing in the top 25. And this year they've got 5 teams. That's Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, and Wisconsin that are all preseason ranked AP top 25.
Let's start with champs, Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. 13-1 last year straight up, 8-5-1 against the spread. They lost to TCU in the first round of the college playoffs.
It sucks that that's your blemish.
Hey.
A team that got beat worse than anybody else ever in a national championship game is the team that beat you and kept you from going undefeated.
They decided that they wasn't going to tackle anybody. I mean, just, you know.
Made it an executive decision.
Yeah, I guess so. They beat Ohio State the last 2 years. They're looking at Harbaugh is looking at, he don't know, 1 or 2, 3, 4 game suspension to start the season. But let's start with the offense that's averaged 40-plus points a game in 2022. They got 8 starters coming back.
The two-headed monster.
Oh, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. They're combined, that's 25 touchdowns just from them two. And they got a freshman out of North Cobb High School, Benjamin Hall. He's a 3-star, but they loved him. Said he looked great in the spring game. I've heard some criticism about when they were playing TCU. Corum went down. Who was going to be Edwards didn't get a breather. They didn't have anybody to back him up. Well, they think they found their third back and maybe their future star in the kid from North Cobb.
Yeah, that loss to TCU was eye-opening, though. I mean, that was not a good Horned Frogs defense. I mean, Georgia ran all over them. I mean, Corum did get hurt, fair enough. But, man, that was just a surprise to see. I mean, it was a close game, but Michigan losing that game was just eye-opening.
Well, let's just say this. Jim didn't want Kirby to get his ass 2 years in a row. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe he's a little scared.
But look, J.J. McCarthy, he's coming back. 2,700 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's been his knock. Where he throws the ball, he throws it in traffic. In the spring game, to end his spring game this past spring, he threw an interception again. And you know Jim Harbaugh, he can't stand that. So he's going to have to clean it up. If they're going to be national champion contenders, got to clean up the turnovers. You got the 2 running backs. You got Benjamin Hall now that's going to be settled in for the third back. Their biggest glaring weakness on offense is definitely the receivers. They got Cornelius Johnson coming back, who's a senior, 6 touchdowns. Roman Wilson, a junior, 4 touchdowns. But they wouldn't be the number 1 on any team like Ohio State. You know, Ohio State, they're loaded with number 1s.
Right.
So they're going to have to figure out something there. You know, maybe they make plays. We don't know, but that's going to be their downfall there. But their offensive line, Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row, 145 career starts.
I was about to say he recruits big linemen. He does a good job recruiting linemen.
And he puts them in the NFL.
Yep.
You know, so. But that's, look, Harbaugh came back to Michigan, if everybody remembers, when Denver fired Nathaniel Hackett. That was like, Harbaugh went out there 2 or 3 times to interview for the Broncos job. Then the Colts. He went out there and was going to interview with the Colts. But I really think the boosters come to him and talk, because last year he gave up some of his salary because of the bad year they had before the past 2 years. So maybe he was looking to go, but he sees this team that he's got coming back. I think he decided, hey, this might be my best shot.
Yeah, I agree. This seems like his best team that he's had since he's been there. The O-line is stout, like you said. They got a guy in from Arizona State, offensive tackle Ladarius Henderson coming in. Could be in the mix for Big Ten honors. So With that two-headed monster running behind that O-line, they could be legit as far as a running team. But, yeah, like you said, they're going to need something to counteract that rushing attack, push those safeties back a little bit, take them out of the box. So we'll see if they can do it.
Well, they're going to have – I really think you're going to see a lot of two tight end formations here. That Colston Loveland, the freshman, they love him. And then the kid they got out of Indiana, A.J. Barner, he's got Big Ten, all Big Ten written all over him. They love him. So, and that's something, you think about a NFL head coach, the way they do the formation, run first, get the line going, line the tight ends up. If you can get somebody that can move the chains, whether it's the running backs or if you get off the run, let the tight ends get the ball, move the chains, I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think their offense – they might not score 40 points every game this year, although their strength of schedule is 57th in the nation, and those first 4 or 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, the more I look at it, 8 games, 9 games, they might score more than 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a real challenge until Penn State.
November 11th.
So, yeah.
But on September 23rd, they do get Rutgers.
which is always a critical matchup.
That's going to be a good football
for
day.
the Wolverines.
Yeah. So
you got that right.
All right. So looking at this schedule, they've got a lot of time to prepare, but the end of their schedule is super hard.
Well,
what? Michigan? Are you looking at the same schedule I'm looking at?
Penn State, Notre Dame,
Maryland,
or Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, they're favored by 16 over Maryland, but
yeah,
Penn State, Ohio State, sure. Last 2 out of the 3.
Well, Maryland's also home game too for Maryland.
Yep. At the Snake Pit.
Yeah, I mean Maryland could surprise some people. We'll talk about them in a bit, but
they can lean on their defense. 7 starters back, only allowed 16 points a game last year. They did lose a defensive lineman, a defensive end, and a safety to the NFL.
Well, they also Jesse Minter is his second year's defensive
That's
coordinator.
right.
So his first year coming in, he made some major improvements. So what's he going to do having 2 years to work with these kids? Now they probably understand his program a little better. Yeah. So might be one of the first Big Ten teams we've seen with a real legitimate defense.
Yeah, and he went to the portal.
Yeah.
He went to the portal, got Josiah Stewart out of Coastal Carolina, who is a huge pass rusher, and they need that. They really do need that. If that didn't tell you when they played TCU, they couldn't even get back there to Max Duggan. So, they're trying to load up. He's going to the portal like everybody else is now. It's just the day and time we live in.
Last year, their defense ranked in the top 10 in a whole bunch of categories. They were number 7 in scoring defense, number 6 in total defense, number 7 in rush defense, number 7 in fourth down conversions. They were tied for 7th in red zone defense and 9th for first downs allowed. That's a whole lot of categories to be in the top 10. So, as much as we're SEC fans and we're from the Deep South, you got to give them credit where credit's due. They held it down on D.
All right, so finishing up with Michigan here, where you guys see their over-under, how many wins you think they get, so forth, so on. Let's start with you, Jeff.
Well, I went ahead and I played Michigan plus 180 to win the Big Ten. Again, I got them going 12-0.
Ooh.
And we'll see what happens, but that's what I got them going. And I went ahead and played them over 10.5 wins.
Well, yeah, you'd have to. If you haven't won in the Big Ten.
Yep.
You got no choice.
Got no choice.
Got to double down. I don't know, man. That 10.5 total's looking tough. You got Penn State and Ohio State rounding out 2 of the last 3 games. Maryland is not going to be a laydown coming in between them. So that's going to be 3 tough games in a row. So you got 2 tough games back-to-back, no bye weeks, no weeks off. You got Penn State, Maryland, then Ohio State.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with Jeffrey. I think they're 12-0. I think they're 11-0 coming into Ohio State. Biggest game in the year for the Big Ten. We'll see. I think it's going to be 11-0 Ohio State versus 11-0 Michigan, but we'll see.
Well, here's the good thing. If they do get through Penn State and Maryland, that's 11 wins. So I hit that.
Yeah.
I got to, I can figure out what I want to do if I want to go ahead and try to get some money back off that Big Ten bet, depending on what they look like or, how it's going. So we'll see what happens.
All right, so they're looking for their 3rd consecutive conference title. In this game against Ohio State will, basically decide Big Ten East and ultimately the Big Ten championship. So it's a lot of pressure.
Yep.
I hope they do it. I like to see Ryan Day sweat.
Yeah, the funniest thing to me is the Ohio State fans calling for Day's head after he's taken them to the promised land. And, well, he hasn't taken them to the promised land, but he's had the best start ever in school history in his first 6 years, or 5
like
years.
46 and 7 or something.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
better than Tressel, better than Woody Hayes even. And they're calling for his head just because he's lost to Michigan the last 2 years. So,
But the way he lost, they gave up 87 points and over 1,000 yards in the last 2 games in Michigan. Think about that. So that raises questions right there.
yeah.
I mean, Michigan, they beat them 45-23 last year.
Beat that ass.
Yeah.
So
Well, this leads us right into Ohio State, though.
let's go.
So let's get it.
Ohio State. They were 11-2 last year, straight up 6-6-1 against the spread. They lost to Georgia, 41-42 in the college football playoffs. They gave up 467 yards and 41 points in the loss.
They finished 4th in the top 25 in 2022, and they are ranked preseason number 3 for this year.
Yeah, it seems to me like it's Georgia, Bama, OSU, Michigan. The rest are playing for second fiddle, but
Well, Jeff had Clemson going undefeated as well, so
yeah. I'm not saying that other teams won't get there. I'm just saying I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't see any team outside of those 4 winning the college football playoff.
And it'll be interesting to see if Michigan and Ohio State get back in.
Yeah.
So, but there's no way they leave Clemson out if they're undefeated. No,
Yeah.
there's no way.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So what happens, hypothetically, I know I'm jumping topics here, but what happens if you get an undefeated Clemson in a championship game against Florida State, and you got a 1-point game or a field goal at the end of the game or an overtime game, and both of those teams look better than these Big Ten teams? That's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously we can't tell what happens, but it's going to be real interesting to see.
So
the media is high on Florida State.
Okay, so in that scenario, it would
sucking
be
their-
a one-loss Florida State playing an undefeated Clemson, and Florida State's only loss to that
So let's
point
see,
would
they
be
beat
Clemson.
in a real close
And then
game.
they beat them in the
They had 2-1
championship
loss.
game.
Right. What happens then?
Yeah, what's going to happen? Because can't the 4 teams go this year?
If an undefeated Georgia beats an undefeated Alabama in the SEC championship game in a close game, they're both going.
They're both going.
Right. So
Yeah. They get the benefit.
They get the benefit. So
I don't know if they'll give. That would be very interesting
especially
to see.
if these are blowouts or something weird happens.
Well, especially if it's a if it's a one-loss Michigan, a one-loss Ohio State, which one of them wouldn't be able to play for the title,
Right.
and a one-loss Penn State, because Penn State can come out of the bottom there.
Right. I don't know. So what do you think about Ohio State? You got them at 10.5. I think it all comes down to Brian Hartline. What's he going to do?
Well, he made an interesting comment after the spring game. He's the new OC there.
Yep.
And he said, all these guys we're recruiting, if they can't find a spot on the field to play, then good luck to them. So, but and look, Hartline's a guy who wants a head coaching job somewhere.
Yeah.
He wants a head coaching job somewhere. So, he's very aggressive, very, very aggressive. He has Kyle McCord coming in.
Can he do it? Can Kyle McCord do it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I have my reservations. Everything I'm hearing and reading, Devin Brown, the redshirt freshman, if he's got a hurt hand, so he didn't play that much in the spring. The fall camp's going to be big for him, but I think that's the one they really want. They want Devin Brown to step up.
Some point during the season, Kyle McCord's going to fuck up. Devin Brown's going to come in, save the day, and they're going to be off and running.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, C.J. Stroud's shoes aren't going to be easy to fill, so.
No.
Yeah, well, he's got all the weapons, though. I mean, Cade Strover's a senior, had 5 touchdowns, 406 yards last year at tight end. Marvin Harrison Jr., that dude is a stud.
Yeah.
Best receiver in the nation.
Igbuka right behind him.
Yeah.
They got a stud running back, Travion Henderson. They're
Mayan Williams, they like him. They
got studs everywhere.
They're loaded in the skill positions.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how many games this year the defense saves them.
Well, to me, I think that's going to be a problem again.
I think the defense can be terrible.
I think they're going to be terrible.
I do too.
They can get thrown on. Last year when they got tied up, they had to go to Maryland. They ended up winning that game 43-30, but it wasn't anywhere as far as that score looks. Maryland was in that game.
Knowles, the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State.
Exactly.
Oklahoma State used to have those 50 to 60 games, 60 to 70 games. I mean,
soon to be friend of the
meets.
show, Mike Gundy
Track
did
meets.
not miss him when he left. I don't think so.
No, not a chance. Glad to see him. I hate to see you leave, but I'd love to see you go.
No, yeah, one of those deals.
The Penn State game, they're favored and they're -9. That's I think that's going to be a huge test for them.
Well, so their defense, they're going to have a lot of moving parts. Okay, I don't know how good they're going to be against the run, but I'm telling you, they can be thrown on. So that's all going to come down to the Penn State offensive line and quarterback, in my opinion. But here's another. We're talking about how bad the defense is, or how bad we're projecting it to be. Ohio State's 24-10 to the over in the last 3 years. Now, a lot of that is they do, C.J. Stroud scores a lot of points, but you got to remember they were setting them totals in the 60s. So not only are they scoring a lot of points, they're giving up points too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a game I'm interested in, September 23rd. That day, we need to put that day on our calendar. They got to go to Notre Dame. Ohio State's got to go to Notre Dame. They're laying 8.5. Let me tell you this nugget I heard from one of the best college football cappers that I know of, a guy named Paul Stone. The last 9 years, Notre Dame is 6-1 as a home dog and 6-1 straight up when the point spread is a score or less, one score or less. So that's going to be close right there. I think that, and we'll talk about Notre Dame in another day, but I think that's a big game because, look, guys, they go to Indiana to start the season. Okay, I got them as 30-point favorites. Then they get Youngstown State, in-state, if you want to call it a rival or whatever. Then Western Kentucky. So they got 3 warm-up games to get ready to go to Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame plus the points in that game.
Yeah, we'll talk about Notre Dame later, like you said. But who do you know off the top of your head who Notre Dame starts with? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I know they start with Navy to start the season off.
Oh yeah, that's right, over in Ireland or whatever, right?
Yeah. So they got a couple of warm up games too. So
okay.
Which we'll talk about Navy too. But the interesting thing about Navy is they're getting away from the triple option. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the independent schools on down the road. But
Perfect.
yeah. So I went ahead and I bet under 10.5 wins for Ohio State at plus 105. I think they lose at least 3 games.
Really?
Woo.
So,
Man.
You know where their first loss is going to come?
I hope it's Notre Dame.
You hope it's Notre Dame.
Then Maryland, I bet you're getting chirpy on Maryland over there, Smith.
I don't know. I know we're going to get to it in a minute. But you know who my Big Ten dog is going to be this year?
Penn State.
Nope.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Yep. Wisconsin with Luke Fickell from Cincinnati and their new offensive coordinator. They got the well, we'll talk about them in a minute. We'll get more in detail. But let's talk about this. October 28th at Wisconsin. They're getting up 17.5. That's because nobody knows this Wisconsin team.
Yep.
Nobody knows how to grade them. So I think you got to keep a close eye on those first 5 or 6 games from Wisconsin. And I think Ryan Day needs to circle that date on his calendar because if he survives Notre Dame, that's going to be...
I hope that's a night game too.
And it's after Penn State. So you know how hard that's going to be to come off of Penn State going into Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah.
Woo, boy.
Yeah.
You might be onto something with that under 10.5.
I liked it at plus money, and we'll see. And like I said, to me, we're still not sure about the quarterback. Yes, the receivers are great. The running backs are going to be there. Can the defense, are they going to be able to hold up? We'll find out.
And they lost a tackle and center to the NFL, but they reloaded with a couple guys from the transfer portal. Josh Fryer's coming in. He was already there, but Josh Fryer will need to step up and replace Paris Johnson that went to the Cardinals. And then they got a guy, Josh Simmons, coming in from San Diego State at 6'5", 305. So he could make a spot there in that starting O-line that could help him replenish that O-line depth a little bit. So we'll see. How about the...
this might be their toughest schedule in years.
I think so.
Because usually they've got a bunch of laydowns.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're bullies, man. I mean, look, when they beat somebody, they do. Ryan Day he's like Sprayer. He has no problem.
Oh yeah, he'll run it up.
At pouring it on. So, but when they have to play somebody that can play,
I see them. Hey, listen, I think you're on something. They could lose 4 games. I mean, I don't think they will,
but they
there's
could.
4 potential losses.
Yeah.
And when they got 4 potential losses, you can't bet the over on 10.5.
All right, so we're betting the under 10.5 on Ohio State.
Yep.
How about moving into the old Nittany Lions?
Penn State, James Franklin's 10th year. He needs to beat Ohio State and Michigan, which he hadn't done yet in the same season. Last year they were 10-2 straight up, 9-3-1 against the spread. They get 8 starters back on offense. Sean Clifford, he's gone. Green Bay drafted him. He threw for 11,000 yards and 86 touchdowns in the 10 years that he played there. So they're gonna miss him, but they got Drew Aller, Mr. Ohio in high school.
He's a stud. Looks like a stud.
NFL
He's
arm.
a stud on paper.
Number 1 QB in the class of 2022.
Is he a winner on the field, though?
We're going to find out. He was Mr. Ohio in high school, so I'm assuming that, he kicked everybody's ass they played. But
Right.
Look, they're going to be tempted to let Drew Aller throw a gajillion times a game, but Penn State was 10-0 last year when running for over 160 yards. So they got to keep pounding the rock, feed Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. Yeah.
Yep.
Do not get away from the run game, or otherwise they're going to get caught.
I mean, between them two, they had 2,000 yards rushing and 12 or 22 touchdowns. Singleton was
They have same head coach, same OC, so they're not going to change up the game plan.
No.
They're going to round up, and they want that quarterback to play well. And for him to play well, for them to open up the secondary, they're going to pound the ball down people's throat.
yeah. I mean,
Little SEC football coming to the Big Ten right there.
look,
Play action passing.
Singleton rushed for over 100 yards 4 times last year. One of them, he did it at Jordan Hare against my Auburn Tigers. He put 125 yards on him, and he's still running. I mean, here's the whole thing is they get Fashanu coming back on the offensive line, the left tackle. That's really about it. But they say he's a great run blocker, but can he hold up against the pass rush? They're not real sure about that. So that's going to be a problem. You cannot be one-dimensional in this day and age.
Yeah, especially you have a young, unproven quarterback. That may be a problem.
Yeah, it's great to have your left tackle back, but if he can't stop a pass rush, then But they're talking about
Coming from your blind side.
Yeah, and they're talking about him being drafted. Like one of the top 1, 2, or 3 offensive linemen to go in the NFL draft. So, we'll see. But look at the defensive side of the ball. They get 8 starters back. They were number 1 in the Big Ten last year in sacks and tackles for loss. Manny Diaz, this will be his 2nd year. He loves to get to the passer. So, he's going to play. He's going to have them boys playing like their hair is on fire. Defensive line, they get Chop Robinson back, 5.5 sacks. Isaac, he's a defensive end. He had 4 sacks last year. And the one to watch for is Dennis Sutton. He's a sophomore. Raised havoc in the spring game. Everybody was raving about him. So the defense just gets stronger.
I think they're going to feel some pain from losing Joey Porter, though, to the Steelers. So he's pretty tough to replace.
As a Steeler fan, I'm kind of excited about that.
Well,
Johnny Dixon's coming in to replace Porter. He's going to have to lock up that other side alongside future NFLer Kalen King. So
yeah, and
secondary should be solid.
Johnny's a senior, so he's played. He's got plenty of snaps under him. The linebacking crew, forever wasn't Penn State linebacker you. I mean, they were always, they always had the linebackers. This Carter kid, 6.5 sacks, and then they got another freshman, Tony Rojas, another one in the spring game that just wreaked havoc. From what I read about the spring game, the number 2 defense blew away the number 1 offensive line, the number 2 defense. Ooh. So I don't want to compare them to an SEC defensive-wise, but I think that's what all these teams are trying to do.
Right.
They've seen the layout, right? The blueprint.
You take what Kirby did in Alabama, and then what he's doing at Georgia. You've got NFL teams now. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. They've got 6 starting defensive linemen. There would be starters on any other NFL team because they're going to start taking that angle of, hey, every 2 plays, rotate those defensive linemen, and they're going to wear down those offensive lines. And that's what Kirby did, it's a recipe for success, and he's done it his whole career at multiple schools. And the NFL's starting to do it, and I think it's just going to take fire. Just the same way the West Coast offense did, and the same way, the trends that come through. Yeah. Somebody does something that works, everybody adapts it into their program.
Well, they're favored to win their side of the conference. They're plus 550. They're third favorite, plus 550 to win the Big Ten. They got a 9.5 win total.
I got them 6-0 coming into Ohio State, and I am on the fence about that game.
Well, I like Penn State plus 9. Whether or not they win the game straight up.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's safe.
Here's a good nugget about that game. 1-8 straight up, but they're 7-2 against the spread the last 9 games against Ohio State.
Nice.
So
may the odds be in your favor.
There's your bet.
Yep.
All right.
So I'll tell you this. This September 23rd date's really peaking its head again. So
that's a
I
good
think
game.
they got their first big test against Iowa.
Yeah, you're right. September 23rd. Listen, that's must see TV. Obviously, we've
have all the TVs on that day.
So they're 15-point favorite over Iowa. So that is giving Penn State a lot of respect, though.
Yeah. It is in Penn State, so that's going to be.
You got them at 9.5. I think the floor on them is 10. I think the only 2 games that they got questioned with is going to be Ohio State and Michigan. So even if they lose both those games, they're 10-2, and the over's a safe bet.
So here's, and I got this highlighted over here. Got to go to Maryland, November 4th. Got to go to the Snake Pit. We keep talking about Maryland again. That's another one. Hey, we talked about them before. So
I don't think they're big enough up front on defense. I don't think the defensive line. If this quarterback, if Drew doesn't play the way they think,
exactly,
they can still run for first down.
So that was
the clock.
This is my only hesitation. Him, and that offensive line. Those are my only hesitations of not going over 9.5. I'm just not sure, but I do like that though. If I had to do anything, I'm going over 9.5.
Hey, I'm going 11-1.
11-1.
I'm going. They run the table and get beat by Michigan.
I got them going 10-2.
Yeah.
So
I got no clue. So Penn State just confuses me. I don't know where they're going to be.
No, but I definitely think that in my opinion, they're the second best team in the Big. I think they're better than Ohio State.
I just said, said it. I think so.
So,
well, there's a zinger.
We might get back into this one loss. What if Penn State's undefeated and loses to Michigan in the Big Ten championship?
Well, and all these teams that we're talking about right now, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, I think the reason Michigan has the edge is because they've got a quarterback in J.J. McCarthy that's been there for several years, that's been with the coaching, that's been inside that program. These other schools have new quarterbacks coming in, and maybe by the end of the season, those guys are going to be clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
But if you had to make predictions now, I got to go with the guy that's got the experienced, seasoned quarterback who knows his mistakes and he's ready to get out there and make a name for himself.
Yeah. I love Michigan because returning quarterback, great O-line, 2-headed monster running backs coming back. I mean,
solid defense too. They're going to be solid. So.
All right. Well, moving on from Penn State, we talked a little bit about Maryland. Let's jump into the Terrapins and see what they're coming with this year.
We've talked about them several times already. They're 60-1 to win the Big Ten. Their win total set at 7. Mike Loxley's coming back for his 6th season. Just got a new deal through 2027. If that name sounds familiar to anybody, he was Saban's OC for a while. He was the head coach at New Mexico. Great offensive mind.
They like him.
They like him.
They signed him for a long time.
I mean, he might not be Ralph Friedgen, but for Maryland, I think he's doing what they want him to do. He's trying to build the program back up, be respectable. You look at the offensive side of the ball, he's got 5 starters coming back. He lost 2 receivers to the NFL, though. So that's 2 weapons for Talia Tagovailoa.
I still can't say Tagovailoa.
To his little bro.
Man. I know.
To his little bro. But here's something very interesting to me. Mike Locksley, like I said, he's the offensive guy, but he's got brand new dual OCs. Kevin Sumlin, Johnny Manziel, fame at Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah, Texas A&M. Yeah.
And Josh Gaddis, who got run the hell out of Miami. He got run out of Michigan several years ago. I don't understand that at all. I'm not sure about that. Matter of fact, Mike Locksley, I think it was halftime at the spring game, they interviewed him and was like, well, what do you think about the way your offense is going? He said it's better to watch paint dry.
Wow. Well, I mean, this guy had Johnny Football, and Johnny Football was on his press release come out this week, with a lot of highlights from his documentary. Guy didn't watch any film.
Never.
0 iPad hours. Never watched a single bit of film on any game they ever played.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah. So but that was kind of confusing me. I don't, and I'm sure Locksley will, in the end, when it's time to game plan, I'm sure he'll be making sure that it's the way he wants it. But they do have a talent in Tagovailoa, 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns. He did have 8 turnovers. Another interesting fact, little Tua come out a couple of weeks ago and said he turned down $1.5 million NIL deal from an SEC school, and immediately everybody thought it was Florida or Auburn. Immediately. So, I don't know. I don't put it past them guys at Auburn one bit, especially when but that's for another pod. But that was very interesting because people all, well, how much money are they really? What is this NIL? How much is it really? Well, he just flat out told you. He turned down $1.5 million to go to the SEC.
Right. Wonder if that's because Maryland countered or.
Yeah, and I would have, if I would have just stopped reading after that, I'd have been like, well, Saban's trying to go get him. Right.
Yep.
Because they don't have a quarterback either.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That's the biggest question mark on their entire team, I think, this year.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of the offense, they've got some weapons, as Jeff mentioned there. The offense rocks. This team is going to be okay. They were 7-0 last year when putting up more than 400 yards, and they were 0-5 when they didn't. So they're going to need to get that offense running. They got Roman Hemby coming back. He at almost 1,000 yards, 10 TDs. Got some nice receivers coming back. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that Tyrese Chambers, the receiver that's coming in out of FIU, he's a playmaker.
Yeah, but can Tua whatever his name is.
Well, look.
Tua Jr. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, 3,000 yards. He's slinging it.
Yeah, but he throws a pick when he's under pressure. So, I don't know.
But hey,
I'm not sold on it.
This is another
he
year.
He shows out against shit teams.
Well, he does. He pad stats.
Right.
Yeah, so. But this is another year for him, so, maybe he can make the transition. We'll know. We'll know.
It won't take long.
But their offensive line, can they pass block? Because if they cannot pass block.
He's done. Be 10 picks.
He's going to be hurt just like his brother got hurt.
That's right.
He's no Pat Mahomes. He can't throw from his back. So.
You got him at 7 wins. I got 7 as their cap. I think they're capped out at 7. I think they'll go 7-5 again. I think that they're just kind of lost in the pack in that Big Ten with Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. I think they're just kind of in the shadows. I don't see them breaking out of the shadows. I think Wisconsin breaks through the shadow this year a little bit, and Maryland just stays in the middle of the pack.
Well, they're probably going to come out 5-0, right? Maybe Michigan State they lose, but every other game they're favored by double digits. And then they got that Ohio State matchup on October 7th. No way you see them winning that. Then
Illinois is going to be good.
Illinois.
But they'll blow Northwestern out.
Yep.
And I don't think
Penn
they're going to be
State probably lose. Nebraska
I got them
probably
going.
Lose.
I got them going 8-4. So, that's we'll see. I went ahead. I did bet over 7 minus 130. Maybe that Nebraska coin flip game there. They got to get that one. Really need them to make sure that they get the Illinois game. If they can get the Illinois game, then and they get them at home. So I'll feel a lot better about the over 7 wins. But hey, if they go 7-5, then I just push.
Well, they're going to lose to Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. So there's 3, and then they've got 3 coin toss games.
I need them to get them.
It's hard to bet when you got 3 coin toss games.
But if they lose all 3 of them, that's 7 wins. No, that's 6 wins. Yeah, I need him to get 2 out of 3.
That's why I had them at 7 because
Yeah,
I figured
I
I
need
think
him to
they're
get 2
gonna.
out of 3.
I think they're gonna win one of those 3.
So,
all right.
but they'll be a fun team to watch. I got a feeling we'll see a lot of them on some of those ESPN games too. So.
All right, so let's shift gears and let's talk about Michigan State.
Talk about Sparty. How about Mel Tucker with the contract of a lifetime? This guy signed a 10-year, $95 million contract.
Thank you, Kenneth Walker.
All to go 5 and 7. Woo!
Yeah, all to go 5 and 7. I mean, this guy is the 5th highest salary in college football, behind names like Saban, Dabo, Kirby, Brian Kelly. Then it's Mel Tucker. I mean, I'm a huge Mel Tucker guy, being a Georgia Bulldog, but man, did that guy really spin that into some money?
Yeah, he got when Kenneth Walker left Wake Forest and decided to transfer up there to East Lansing. They only lost 2 games that year, so they automatically said, "Oh, look, we got us the future."
Home run hitter.
And then last year happened.
Yeah, he's 23 and 21 overall at the school. So, yikes.
Yeah, listen, you know how Saban resurrects all these careers, and looks like Kirby might be in that with Bobo and Muschamp.
Right.
Well, he might be ready to get him another one here pretty soon.
Yeah, you got that right. Well, he's a defensive-minded coach, and they ranked 110th overall last year in total defense, and they were 101st in pass defense. I mean, these guys got more holes than a damn cheese grater, a Mississippi mud hole. I mean, holy smokes. You can just light it up and take them deep all over the field with these guys.
Yeah, they're 100-1 to win the Big Ten. Their win total is set at 5.5. They have the second toughest schedule in the nation this year.
Do they really? I did not know that. Second toughest.
And on top of that, their quarterback, Peyton Thorne, he transfers to Auburn after the spring game. Peyton Thorne, he led them in all passing last year. He transfers to Auburn after the spring game. They lost their number 1 receiver, Keon Coleman, after the spring game to FSU, he was in 5 games last year. He was the leading receiver. He went over 100 yards in 3 of those 5 games. They got this redshirt junior, Noah Kim. He played 3 games, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. And they got a redshirt freshman in Caton Hauser that looks to be the next one, but he's never played. So, a sophomore from UConn transferred in, Nathan Carter, to run the ball. They do have Antonio Gates Jr. He's a true freshman, and everybody remembers his dad from the Chargers fame. So, I'm sure he's got talent.
So, what position
His
does he
dad
play?
was pretty
He's
good.
a receiver.
A receiver, okay.
Yeah,
Because his dad was tight end, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Does he return also?
I don't know if he's returning kicks or not. I doubt it, but he may be. They do get 7 starters back on the defense, but they were 101st in the nation in pass defense. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah, they may have needed those guys to move on.
I mean, we're not going to sit here and just talk about them like we have Ohio State, Michigan, and them. But I went ahead and I laid 160 and I went under 5.5. And do they win 4 games?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to beat Central Michigan. They're going to beat Richmond 1-2 right out of the gate, right? And then
what?
Then it's good luck.
Maybe Indiana at the end of the year?
Washington loss, Maryland loss, Iowa loss. Rutgers, maybe they can win that one.
Maybe.
Michigan loss, Minnesota loss, Nebraska.
I got them 5 and 7 tops.
Ohio State getting their butts kicked. Indiana, maybe. Penn State, destroyed.
So I got them 5 and 7. So I went ahead and went under the 5.5.
Yeah, I got them maybe 4 wins.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was being gracious.
Yeah, I think 4 wins. I think 5 is the max ceiling, right?
Yeah.
So 5.5, taking the under the 5.5, I think is safe.
You know something's going on when your number 1 quarterback, and I didn't want him, but what I'm saying is number 1 quarterback and your number 1 receiver both leave after the spring game.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's fishy.
And Keon Coleman, when he went down there to FSU, when they interviewed him or whatever, he said, "I served my time."
Nice.
So whatever's going on up there is not good. And they done paid this man. I don't even know what the buyout is. There ain't no telling what the buyout is.
Right.
So who's going to buy? They're going to have to fire him
Yeah.
if they want to get rid of him.
I think he's done after this year. Is there a bet on that? Give me a prop bet.
They will have some kind of, sooner or later in far off places now, not locally, not anywhere here, but which head coach will be fired first or whatever. So,
Well, no doubt Michigan State is going to need some magic. Moving on. Wisconsin Badgers.
yeah, this is the
led
west
by-
side of the Big Ten here.
Led by head coach Luke Fickell. What we got there? He's coming in from
Well,
Cincinnati.
Real quick, let's talk about the West in general, because looking at the record last year, I mean, it seems like it was just a big toss-up. I mean, you had literally 5 teams within a game or two of each other the entire season.
Yeah, this entire conference feels like it needs some realignment, right? You got all the big boys are over on the east, and then you got the little puddle jumpers over here on the west. No doubt about that, T.
Nobody won 10 games on that side last year.
Meanwhile, you got 3 11-plus wins over on the east with Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. Maryland finished 4th in the east. They could win the west.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, talking about Wisconsin, I mean, they are definitely one of the contenders for the West, and they're also preseason ranked at number 23 in the AP poll.
Yeah, and last year they were 7-6, 6-7 against the spread, plus 550 to win the Big Ten. They have their season win total set at 8.5, juice to the over. You got to lay 140, or if you're brave enough, you can go under that and get a little plus 110. Luke Fickell comes in from Cincinnati.
I like him. Luke Fickell's a winner. People underestimate what it is to be a winner.
Yeah.
You ain't got to do things pretty. You don't have to be like, the next best superstar. Like, you don't have to have all the best athletes. You put teams together and you play team football, and this guy's a winner. And he brought in Phil from North Carolina.
May.
I think he did more for Drake May than Drake May did for him.
That's what I'm saying.
And so I think that he's going to come in. They're going to up-tempo this. They're going to be hard to keep up with. Those Big Ten defenses are going to have a hard time keeping up with them. And I think Wisconsin has a breakout season, man. I'm on the Wisconsin bandwagon. I've always liked Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I've always liked they've always ran the ball well. They've always had big offensive lines. They've always played tough defense. Physical. They're a physical football team.
Yeah, Jeff had a nice little chat about Phil Longo when we talked about the ACC, about how much he influenced Drake May. So to have him there up at Wisconsin's got to be nothing but positive.
And he got Tanner Mordecai to come out of SMU, who, he's not Drake May, but 3,500 yards, 33 touchdowns. He can throw the ball. He can absolutely throw it. Graham Mertz is the one that the quarterback he left and went to Florida. Bless their heart. But their running back, Braylon Allen, 230 carries last year, 1,242 yards, 11 touchdowns. Ches Malusi, he'll be the backup.
Ches.
Yeah, Ches. They got several receivers that are coming back. The two Dyke and Skylar Bell and Kenates Lewis, they return. They combine for 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. They get a transfer out of USC, C.J. Williams. He can play. If he's coming from USC and Lincoln Riley recruited him, he can play. And I'm sure he likes that up-tempo kind of deal too. The biggest thing for me is this offensive line. I don't know. They got a Cincinnati transfer, Jake Renfro. He come over. The center came over with Luke Fickell. They got Jack Nelson coming back as a guard. But what I want to know from you guys is this Phil Longo offense, is this offensive line built to handle it? Because, like I said, they get one return. They get Jake Nelson coming back at guard. They had to get a center to come over from Cincinnati. Are they built to handle this up-tempo, or is Longo going to have to punt this first year and figure out things?
I don't know. I think these two guys are good enough coaches together that they're going to figure it out. They're going to get the right people in the right place, and I think they're going to figure it out. And they got to, look at their schedule.
Yes.
Their schedule is
beautiful.
It's laid out perfect. We'll know week 2 because they got to go to Washington State.
Yeah. Washington State beat them last year at Camp Randall.
If they win that game, they should beat my alma mater, Georgia Southern, unfortunately.
They better not sleep on Georgia Southern, though.
They won't sleep on them, but they should beat them. And they got them, of course, at home, and then they go to Purdue, Rutgers, Iowa. I've got them. losing to if they get past Washington State, they could be undefeated down to the Ohio State game. So
The Iowa game is going to be tough, though.
I'm not big on Iowa. Y'all got Iowa. I'm not big on Iowa.
Yeah, I'm big. I like Iowa.
Well, I mean, and by the time, if they can go undefeated, let's just say they do go undefeated. So by the time they get to Ohio State, that's at the end of October, the offense should be figured out by then.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Either it's back to ground and pound with Braylon Allen and Ches, or it is the up-tempo play action, all that kind of stuff that he likes to do.
I think worst case they're 9-3.
Well, the reason why I bring up Iowa is everything that I've seen, Wisconsin and Iowa are both the contenders for the West. So it's a big game for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Wisconsin was 6-0 last year when running for more than 192 yards, and they were 1-6 when they didn't. So it'll be interesting to see, do they try to ground and pound and get over that proverbial win total in rush yards, or does Phil Longo come in and they just completely throw that to the wayside and they start running these little slants and underneath throws and kind of scat back and that kind of stuff, and kind of just mix in run here and there.
Really, you just got to circle September 9th. Watch that Washington State game.
Yeah.
If they can handle Washington State, like handle them, not just barely squeak by, but if they can handle them, then there's a good chance they go 9-3, 10-2, maybe 10-2.
And I know it's not the same staff, but they got to have that game circled, because Washington State went into Camp Randall last year, second game of the season, and beat them 17-14. So it's not like they won't be focused.
Yeah.
And
I like it.
their defense, they get 8 starters back on defense. They do have a new defensive coordinator, Mike Tressel. He came over with Fickle from Cincinnati.
But again,
They
those
like
guys,
Cincinnati coaches, I guess, huh?
But those guys work together. When you get guys that
Yeah.
are successful and they win and they work together and they win at a program, when you move them together to another program, they usually don't stop their winning ways. They usually don't change their ways.
Yeah, they get their 3 leading tacklers back. All 3 of them are linebackers. Defensive line, they get a senior back in Isaiah Mullins. They get Gio Paez. He's there on the line. Secondary, they get a Boston College transfer in Jason Matre. They like him. They really like him. Even he was at Boston College. They're big on him. They got Alexander Smith back, Rico Hallman. So defensively, I think they're going to be fine. Fine. If now this is another thing. Yes, 8 starters return. If they go to the up tempo, is that defense going to be equipped to handle the amount of time they're going to be on the field?
Right.
That does matter. Trust me. Gus Malzahn was my head coach or my team's head coach and I saw the defense. I saw us go from an SEC powerhouse defense to barely hanging on by a thread, because we were out there all the time.
Gassed.
And in the Big Ten,
Well,
the Michigans and the Ohio States and the Penn States, they're going to keep coming at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Better have a hell of a conditioning program this offseason.
you better score too.
Yep.
So, it's just a question.
First downs.
I went over the 8.5.
I think they're over.
And
That's a good bet.
I am this close to taking the plus 550 to win a Big Ten. I'm just this close. I just don't know if they can beat Michigan.
Nah, they're not going to beat Michigan. They're not going to have that big. They're going to have a breakout season, but they're not going to break out that much.
But it won't be long. And
who knows? Jim Harbaugh might get suspended for the whole year.
Yeah, who knows? All right, let's move on to PJ Fleck in the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Does anybody know what the trend is in dual offensive coordinaters? Like, why the fuck is this a thing?
Listen, that whole Maryland thing blows my mind. And you pick them two. Kevin Solman and Loxley, they must be tight, or maybe they've coached together in the past or whatever. But the Josh Gaddis, nobody wanted Josh Gaddis. Miami fans, they don't ever want to hear his name again.
Well, I mean, same thing with Minnesota with Simon and Harbaugh Jr. coming in co-offensive. Like,
Okay.
what the fuck?
He hired
is
within.
it because of LSU? Is it because they had Joe Brady?
Oh, yeah.
But
But the thing, so PJ Fleck, both of those guys are within, he builds his program, his staff within.
Yeah.
Those are both within hires. So, they've been on the staff. PJ Fleck and the Minnesota Golden Gophers, they were 9-4 last year, 7-6 against the spread. They're 30-1 to win the Big Ten. They have a win season total of 7.5. If you go over, you get plus 125. If you go under, you got to lay 150. They have the 8th hardest schedule in the nation.
Yeah, this sucker is. They got North Carolina their third game, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, and Wisconsin.
And look at that September 23rd game.
Northwestern.
So this is going to be a team of regression, in my opinion. Last year, least amount pass attempts in the Power 5, 70% run first, and that's because they had Mo Ibrahim. He's gone to the NFL. He was their all-time leading rusher. Quarterback's gone. I think he plays for Tampa Bay now. They get Athan Kiamalis come in. He's a sophomore. He's only thrown for 946 yards, 3 touchdowns. He got more interceptions than he does touchdowns, but they like his arm. Got a big arm.
I guess.
So the cover might be getting bare up there. I don't know. They get a Western Michigan transfer to come in to run the ball. He had 1,000 yards. Zach Evan he's a freshman. They got Darius Taylor, so they got 3 guys they're going to look at there. Wide receiver Chris Autumn-Bell. He's coming back from injury. He had 12 touchdowns in 2021. Didn't play at all last year. Daniel Jackson, 37 receptions, 557 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think they got big time problems.
Well, 1941 was the last time they won the Big Ten championship, and it looks like that streak will continue.
And Tony was talking about Iowa just a minute ago. PJ Fleck is 0-6 against Iowa. 0-6. So when you look at that schedule, like I said, they got the win total set at 7.5. You look at that schedule, you look at their defense. They got a great defensive coordinator in Joe Rossi. He's highly thought of. People thought he would have been long gone by now. I don't know if he just must love PJ. I don't know. I have no idea what they're paying him. But they were 118th in the nation in sacks last year.
I got them 7-5.
I got them. Yeah, that's what I got them.
They're going to win Nebraska, win Eastern Michigan. North Carolina's a pick 'em.
I disagree. North Carolina's going to destroy them.
Yeah, it feels like North Carolina's going to kill them,
I
too.
think North Carolina's going to surprise some people.
I bet under 7.5 at plus or at minus 150.
Yep.
And I don't know if they win 6 games.
Underwear, because they're going to be shitty.
Yeah, I mean,
No, they're not going to be shitty, but they're not going to be like the Wisconsin team.
look how they look.
7-5's not shitty.
Well, they get to go to a bowl.
Somebody's got to be in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, Music City Bowl or something like that. But they get to end the season with Ohio State and Wisconsin. So
All right, let's talk about Iowa Hawkeyes.
the Iowa Hawkeyes, Kurt Ferentz, 25th year. That's a long time. They were 8-5 last year and 8-5 against the spread.
Yeah, they finished outside the top 25 last year, but they are preseason ranked at number 21.
I'm guessing he's not getting that Mel Tucker money.
Yeah. Well, listen, his son is the offensive coordinator.
Okay. Yeah.
And Gary Barnum was the AD, which he's gone now. He just renegotiated Brian France's contract, and he has to average 25 points a game, and they have to win 7 games or he's fired. So
That's kind of a weird situation to put Dad in, isn't it?
talk about nepotism. I mean, what are we doing here?
Right.
And they only averaged 18 points.
So let me understand. So his dad laid out the stakes for him.
No, the AD did. I think it was the AD.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
And
and
the
the
guy's been
AD's
there
gone
for 25
now.
years.
There's a new AD now who's probably going to clean house.
Oh boy!
No matter, it's probably coming. And they only averaged 18.5 points a game last year. It was 117th in the nation.
Yeah, best of luck to you, Kurt.
Well, I mean, everybody's pretty high on them. They have them contending for the West against Wisconsin. So I mean, we talked about it a few minutes ago. That game, October 14th, it's going to be a big game for them.
Yeah, I mean, they did get Cade McNamara, so we'll see what he does coming back from knee surgery.
Mel Michigan backup.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I think he started 2 games for them last year.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did
I
start.
think he might have started the first game, maybe. But
Yeah, I want to say he started the first or second. Yeah, he definitely started the first game. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I agree with you. I think he started the first and second, then he got kicked to the backside.
they got 2 running backs: Caleb Johnson, LeSean Williams, 1,191 yards, 8 touchdowns combined. Senior receiver coming back in Nico Ragney, 386 and 1 TD.
Not great.
Not great, but, they've always been known for their tight ends, so they get the Michigan transfer, Eric Al, which is him and Kay McNamara. They were BFFs, so that's not surprising whatsoever.
But Iowa loves to tackle. They love to take the ball away. The defense was absolutely ridiculous last year. They allowed 13 or fewer points in 10 games last year. Of course, they did get annihilated by Ohio State 54-10, but other than that, is that defense going to be the same as it was last year? They're returning 7 starters.
Well, it's hard it's going to be hard for them to duplicate that, but that's their game. That's what they seem to do every year.
They lost Jack Campbell to the Lions, so the linebacker, he's going to be a big hit. So
yeah, and look, they don't have to play Michigan and they don't have to play Ohio State. So Brian Ferentz, he caught a break in that. That's huge when you can avoid both of those guys.
Yeah, Penn State and Wisconsin seem like the two really, really big games for them.
Yeah, and look, that's September 23rd again.
And they also have to finish at Nebraska in November. And the weather's never great.
No, it'll be nasty. And even when they get Illinois the game before that, Illinois is going to be good. We probably should have talked about them, but we didn't. But here's a nugget for you guys. Iowa's 14-2 when the point spread is 5.5 or less. Since 2019, 2022, they are 32-16 to the under. That just goes back to what we were talking about, that defense.
Where does the schedule rank in terms of difficulty, though?
59th.
They've got Penn State and they've got Wisconsin. In every other game, they could win.
Well, look, he lost to Iowa State for the first time last year since Matt Campbell's been the coach at Iowa State.
We got that as a pick'em.
Yep.
They're going to beat Utah State. Iowa State, okay, is a pick'em. Western Michigan, they win. Penn State, loss. Michigan State, probably win. Purdue, win. Wisconsin, loss. Minnesota win. Northwestern win. Rutgers win. Illinois, pick'em, and Nebraska win. So
yeah, he's 6-0.
They could be 10-2.
Well, I got him going 9-4. That's what that's my projections, and I went ahead and I bet the over. And look, he's beat Minnesota 6 years in a row. The pick 'em against Illinois, that's going to probably be important. And they have to finish out the season. They should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0 to end the season.
All right, I got to be a little bit honest here. I don't know. I'm not tied in super deep to the Iowa rivalry, but why would Iowa State not be further down the line in the scheduling here?
Big 12, Big 12, Big 10.
Okay. They just always play it early or just whenever it fits in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sure all that's about to change, too, with all these other teams coming in. So they probably won't even play them anymore. I haven't seen the schedule for next year, but, there's a lot of these rivalry games that are gone.
Yeah.
Think about that, Oregon and Oregon State.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like Georgia, and Georgia Tech, right? It doesn't
Alabama,
matter.
Auburn, all that.
Yeah. Alabama, Auburn, yeah.
Well,
Alabama, Auburn, at least they're in the same conference. But Georgia Tech, Georgia, two completely separate conferences. But every year it's the last game of the year.
Yeah, but the Auburn and Alabama games moved up a week. So in the Georgia Auburn game, remember they always used to play toward the end of the year. Now it's like the third or fourth game of the year. So everything we knew growing up, you might as well forget it because it's over.
Well, yeah, and I saw an article the other day. It was actually a tweet from Lane Kiffin. He basically has jumped on the bandwagon against all the division changes, and he was talking about tradition and rivalries and everything we know.
Right.
And it's all evolving. It's all changing. So
yeah. Well, Kiffin's against it, and then Chip Kelly came out, and he seems like he's just blow the whole thing up and just make everybody independent.
Look, Chip Kelly,
he wants the TV money. That's all he's ever done.
But he knows that where he's at on the West Coast and what he's been able to do, remember he was at Oregon too now. Mm-hmm. So he could recruit all that. Well, now half of his games are going to be across the damn nation. Right. So now you got to figure out how to get in that recruiting base, and that's against Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Pitt.
And it's not just football. What about all the other sports getting their students and their athletes back and forth
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was
it's-
Chip Kelly's point to a degree. It was basically that why don't we just blow up football completely and go independent everyone? It's not that big of a deal for football to travel because we only travel once a week. It's stupid to completely spread all these conferences out because every other sport's playing daily or every other day, baseball, softball, basketball, whatever it may be. And that's just way too much travel for these student athletes that have tests and papers and all kinds of crap that they got to take care of at school.
I went ahead and took over 8.5.
Okay,
At
over
plus
8.5.
110.
Yep, I like them over as well.
So let's Wisconsin or Iowa, Jeff? What's your
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin? All right.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Northwestern.
Yeah, this is going to be we're not going to blab a lot here. They were 1-11 straight up last year, 5-7 against the spread. They're 300-1 to win the Big Ten, and honestly, it should be like 3,000-1. Win total set at 2.5. They had the worst season since 1989 last year. They lost 11 straight. Yeah, 128th in offense, 123 yards, 5th fewest touchdowns, and they fired their coach for Pat Fitzgerald. He was the prodigal son now. He was, the all Big Ten, the all everything, the Rose Bowl, go to the Rose Bowl. Fired him for these alleged hazing deals that went on. Fired the whole coaching staff, everybody. The poor guy who got the job, the defensive coordinator who got the job, they didn't hire him till January, and the only reason he got the job is because he wasn't part of the staff from last year.
Wow, that's a dumpster fire right there.
Backdoored his way right into the AD job.
They got 4 offensive starters returning. They got outscored last year 323 to 165.
Whew. Yeah, I was looking at some stats from last year. Second quarter scoring, opponents 114, Northwestern 47. God. Fourth down conversions, opponents 12 of 17, that's 71% clip. Northwestern 19 of 39, less than 50%. So,
Goodness.
48th hardest schedule in the nation too.
oh boy. Yeah, so loss. We got him, Jeff Keir's got him at plus minus 2, or excuse me, the over-under at 2.5. Which way you going?
I laid the 140 and went under 2.5.
Under 2.5.
Yeah, look.
Woo!
But look, the first game of the season is a pick 'em and they're on the road. Now Rutgers, we'll see, but I trust Greg Schiano at home over than what this team is going to bring. I mean, and that's the only game. Every other game I got them as double-digit underdogs.
Man.
I mean, yeah, they're favored over UTEP 3.5, but that's not a gimme. I'm telling you, UTEP's.
Hold on, you missed Howard there on October 7th.
Oh, I'm sorry, October. I'm sorry. I got them as 28-point favorites over Howard, 27.5 over Howard. So, anyway, I don't think they beat Rutgers,
Right.
and I don't think they beat UTEP. To be honest with you, I just don't know what this team. Can you imagine what these guys are thinking? How? I just can't even imagine.
They got to get Coach O up there.
I'd be curious how many students they had, how many athletes they had that were in the transfer portal.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about looking at that, but they have athletes like what Stanford has and what schools like the academic schools,
right?
So even if they had now, listen, I will say this: their best offensive lineman, he hit the portal and Auburn got him. Which was huge because we had to rebuild our whole offensive line, but that's for another one. We're going to go on and on about the SEC. So, But yeah, I'm under 2.5.
Under 2.5, man.
Like I said, they got outscored last year, 325 to 165.
Yeah, well, they PATs 43 of 43 for opponents. Northwestern 18.
See?
18.
See? 128. They were 128.
They only scored 18 TDs the entire year.
Last year there was only 131 teams in the big boys. They were 128 out of 131 in offense.
Jeez Louise.
Think about that.
Yeah, and it's not looking any better. So Northwestern is the dumpster fire of the Big Ten.
Nobody ever got hurt for jumping out of a basement window.
No, stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck, Northwestern.
All right, so let's shift gears from Northwestern. We're going to talk about Purdue. Purdue had a tough offseason. They've pretty much lost everything on offense.
The head coach is the big deal.
Ryan Walters.
Yeah, it's his first year there because Jeff Brom left for his home at Louisville. So, and you're talking about a coach that took them to the Big Ten title game last year. So that's a real big deal. Ryan Walters steps in. He gets the fourth toughest schedule in the nation.
Yeah, they've got Ohio and Michigan, and then they go on the road for Iowa and Nebraska. So it's going to be tough on them.
Yeah, and that's just conference play. I mean, that's just conference play because, look, they opened up against Fresno State, and, yeah, it's not the same Fresno State from the last 2 years, but they're still capable of going up there to West Lafayette and pulling an upset. That is that, and they're only a 5.5-point favorite, so that tells you right there what Ryan Walters is up against.
Yeah, it's tough because Brom had them, trending in the right direction. They had 9 wins in 21, 8 wins in 2022. That's the best 2-year run for Purdue football since the late great Joe Tiller came with back-to-back seasons in 97, 98, and right as they're going, he darts to Louisville. So,
yeah, I saw some predictions, 3-9 this year for them, which is, it's kind of a fall from grace. I mean, they had a great season last year, and now they've got to start rebuilding again.
I mean, I got them favored in 4 games, but like I said, that first game of the season, they better be ready, and then they have to go on the road to Virginia Tech. It's never easy to play in Blacksburg, even though Virginia Tech's down, which I think Virginia Tech will be much improved from what they were last year. But it's never easy to go on the road and play over there. So Syracuse is going to be another one that they're in about that same situation that Purdue's in. They're not real sure what they have, but what Syracuse does have is their head coach is back. So, they're not just totally blowing it up and starting over.
Right. What's in the cards for old Hudson Card is going to be the key player of the team there for the Boilermakers. He was a great get for Texas, but then Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning came in. He kind of got shuffled to the back, so he transferred up to Purdue, and we'll see what Hudson Card can do for the Boilermakers.
Well, I think he's a very comparable quarterback. I think he's capable. Is he one of those game manager type of quarterbacks, which is honestly probably what Purdue needs right now? It would be great to see them rally and get to 6 wins and make a bowl in Ryan Walters' first year. But honestly, man, it's gonna be rough for them. They got their work cut out for them.
All right, so you're thinking 4 games?
I'm thinking 4 games max. That to me, that's their ceiling.
All right, so my Stay in the Truck award for this week is Phil Mickelson via Rory McIlroy. Even though Phil really didn't come out and do anything crazy this week, but Rory dropped a great zinger one-liner in a press conference at the playoffs this week, and he said, at least you can bet on the Ryder Cup now, Phil, because apparently Phil was trying to make a $400,000 bet on the 2012 Ryder Cup that the United States wins. They lost, by the way. But, I mean, Phil, what the hell are you doing? You're like a modern-day Arnold Palmer. You've got more money than you know what to do with. You're putting your entire career and life on the line for a $400,000 bet. Let's say it pays you double. So let's say maximum, you're probably going to get a $400,000 payout. What is $400,000 to you?
Yeah.
You win one tournament, you make $800,000, $1 million. I mean, Phil, I just don't get it. I don't know why you would risk your whole career for this. He's supposedly bet over $1 billion in his career, lost over $100 million, but risking it all on this Ryder Cup bet is a real boneheaded move.
It seems like if you've looked since he joined Liv, right? I mean, he was like the punching bag. I mean, he became the bad guy, the villain.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you see him, and he's got the dark sunglasses on. He's got the all black, and he's almost trying to become that character where he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But the Phil that we grew up watching, he's not a bad guy. I mean, you saw him, he won the Masters, and you see him with his family at Dunkin' Donuts at the drive-thru, the morning after in Augusta.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
not that guy. He's trying too hard. the whole unshaven, let me get the goatee and all that. It's not working for him. He needs to quit being the bad guy and quit trying to embrace all the bad press.
Yeah, come back to the Phil that everybody loved. I still like Phil. I'm not a huge Roy fan. Roy lost his best friend in Jay Monahan a few weeks ago, as we know, and he seems to always just try to be making press. I am a Phil fan, but I completely agree with you, Tony. He does seem like he's trying to play the antithesis, this bad guy image and look, when he needs to just get back to the people that or the person that people all loved and wanted to root for. All right, Jeff, why don't you take us into your stay in the truck for the week?
Oh, me. And I'm sure this is going to ruffle some feathers because they have a huge fan base. Notre Dame. You know, the team that refuses to join a conference because NBC gives them $75 or $80 million a year to play independently and on their network. Pretty much dodges every team from the SEC. I think they played Tennessee like 10 years ago or something, you know.
They've played Georgia a couple times.
Yeah. Well, here, look. So when all this, when the Pac-12 is blowing up, disbanding like we said it was going to, here's Cal and Stanford, right? They're left out there. Where are they going to go? So the ACC holds a meeting. I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. All the presidents to decide: are we gonna try to put our footprint out there on the West Coast and take Stanford and Cal in? Well, guess who's invited to the meeting? Notre Dame.
Sure. Why wouldn't they?
Because, you know, they play basketball in the ACC or whatever, but they refuse to join the conference, right?
Right.
Okay, so in order for the ACC to take in new teams, it takes 12 out of 15 votes. Well, some of the presidents were like, no way. No way. And then some of them were like, well, yeah, it's great academics. You know, they have all these players and this and that and the other, and we can get our market out there. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We need to figure out something else. Well, then Notre Dame decides to chime in and try to get Cal and Stanford. And you know why? Because Notre Dame plays Stanford every year. So guess what? The presidents told them, go sit in the truck, Notre Dame. We don't need your opinion. If you want to join our conference, then you can get a vote at the table.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Notre Dame, stay in the truck.
So my stay in the truck this week is going to go to Penn Entertainment. Penn Entertainment bought Barstool Sports from, it wasn't Dave Portnoy. He sold to whoever that was in 2016. Penn Entertainment paid, I think, roughly $550 million for Barstool Sports. This week, Dave Portnoy bought Barstool Sports back for $1. Penn Entertainment estimates a loss of around $850 million in this venture. Now, they did it because they think that they have a $2 billion opportunity to go back to ESPN with their online gambling because of all the sanctions and things that Barstool Sports itself didn't really qualify for. But on the front end right now, you're gambling an $850 million loss in hopes that this ESPN sports betting comes through for you. So good luck, Penn Entertainment. Stay in the truck, kids.
That's right. And the shares are already going down.
Dropping.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I heard there was like he's not allowed to sell though. Some sort of clause in there where
they get like 50% of the proceeds if he sells
or whatever.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, they get if he sells. But he said he ain't never selling. Attaboy Dave Portnoy striking the deal of the year for selling your company for $550 million, putting so much money in your pocket and then getting it back.
Yeah.
That's why he's doing pizza reviews.
I'm telling you, man, he's fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
All right, my Stay in the Truck award this week are the Rome Braves. So this is Atlanta's minor league high A affiliate.
Yep.
For the Atlanta Braves, their feeder team. So apparently in 2024, they're going to be dropping the Braves as their mascot and their name. So we've got notable Atlanta Braves that's come through here. Jeff Francoeur, Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris III. So that's going to happen. The Rome Professional Baseball Club are allowing fans to submit ideas for their new team name.
All right, so a couple things. Mississippi the Mississippi Braves are going to be the only team that's left using the Braves moniker, I heard, in the minor league system. And second, I literally, I have the number one name for the Rome Braves, the new Rome Braves. All right, you guys get ready here. The Rome Gnomes. How good is that?
That's a great minor league team
I mean,
name right
that
there.
is a hell of a minor league team.
You know,
name.
it's kind of funny. So
They get a little gnome logo with like a little baseball cap and a bat.
So Jeff and I, so we go to the Bow a lot, and so a couple of weeks ago we went to the Biloxi Shuckers. Had a great time. MGM Stadium's awesome, great time. And so I was just curious. So I went to the website for all of the farm teams for the MLB. It is a hoot to check out all the different teams' names that are out there. And every MLB team has five feeder teams. It's amazing. You need to go look at it. It's great.
It's like Trash Pandas or something in
Yeah,
Birmingham
it's
or
just-
something like that. Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
Chattanooga Lookouts and
I hate they're dropping the name. I just can't believe it took them
Well,
this
but
long.
if all the feeder teams drop it,
Yeah.
so how long until the Braves actually get pressured where they have to drop the name?
Well, they had it a couple of years ago, and it kind of went away. When all that Redskins stuff started happening, even Florida State, the Seminoles running Chief Osceola out there on the field and throwing the spear down.
I mean, I grew up in the,
Chief
Atlanta,
Nakahoma.
the Fulton County Stadium we had the teepee in the left field. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts my soul, dude. I understand, but it still hurts. That's it for this week's show. We really appreciate you tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. Stay in the truck.